Hi, and welcome to this month's episode of The Signature Show. I'm Signature's Artistic Director, Matthew Gardner. Next week, we begin previews for the first show of our 35th season. I'm beyond excited that Signature is producing a newly revised version of Soft Power just as we head into the 2024 presidential election. The show was conceived in 2016, but its fundamental questions feel more urgent than ever. Do we still believe in American democracy? And does the American dream really include everyone? And what better way to wrestle with these questions than with a big Broadway musical comedy? Here to tell you more about the production and to give you a behind-the-scenes look into the rehearsal process are director Ethan Hurd, choreographer Billy Bustamante, and the cast of Soft Power.
Soft Power takes place in 2016, Brooklyn. Chinese-American playwright DHH is leaving a meeting with a Chinese theater producer, Xing, who's commissioned David to write a musical. David is in the street in Brooklyn and suddenly attacked by an unknown assailant.
And in this attack, he ends up experiencing this fever dream where it takes the form of a golden age musical comedy.
And it is a story about Xing meeting Hillary Clinton, and together they decide that Xing is going to go to Washington to save America.
People have described it as like a political fantasia or like a live-action political cartoon.
A madcap political satire where Hillary Clinton's campaign rally is held at a McDonald's and the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court resembles Dumbledore. It's structured in a kind of Alice in Wonderland or Wizard of Oz way, so it can have dream logic. Strange, wonderful, unexpected things happen all the time.
You know, one of my favorite things about Soft Power is that it has the ability to hold so many styles and statements. As a choreographer, that's a delicious challenge to undertake.
We go from like golden age to R&B and gospel.
To pop, to rap. We get to dive into all these different styles while also being able to give a nod to the musicals that made us. Shows like The King and I, Oklahoma, My Fair Lady,
Les Mis, Book of Mormon, Gypsy.
And I hope that's very exciting for our audiences who cherish the Golden Age musicals like I do.
The story of Soft Power hits really close to home for me as a Chinese American. You know, my mom's parents came over from mainland China in 1947, and the show asks the questions, you know, am I Chinese enough? Am I American enough? Which is a experience, a phenomenon that I think so many immigrant families struggle with.
I personally was born in South Korea and was adopted to California by a white American family. And so I've always lived with this duality of, am I enough? Am I Asian enough? And so this piece asks all those questions in a joyful, exciting, absurd way. And I'm just excited to share this with the DC audiences.
I am so excited to be working on Soft Power in this particular moment because Soft Power feels directly positioned to make a bold statement and move forward our national conversation.
This show is asking, you know, can we still believe in democracy? Can it still work for us?
This country currently, it's a lot of closed-mindedness and closed fists and hardened hearts. Hopefully also just could erase some of the jadedness or the cynicism and things that have just turned us against each other or even democracy itself.
Smart enough, with a big heart enough, good the power. We have the power to change. That's why I believe in democracy.
Hi, my name is Aria Vels, and I'm the Associate Director of Soft Power. One of the great joys of being a part of Soft Power has been the chance to work with two theater legends, David Henry Hwang and Jeanine Tesori. This spring, while workshopping a newly revised version of the show in New York City, Ethan sat down with David and Jeanine to discuss what inspired them to write Soft Power and what it's been like to collaborate with each other.
So could you tell me about the inspiration for the show and how it came to be?
King and I is a musical that I've always kind of loved, and then as I was watching in 2017, I became aware of the ways in which it was, kind of problematic, but yet it's so beautifully done that at the end, I'm still in tears. And so I started to think about that contradiction, which I think applies to a lot of older works today, where you have these sort of really mixed and complicated feelings as you're watching them. And I wanted to create something that was like it, about a reverse King and I, essentially, a Chinese theater producer who comes to America and forms an intense bond with Hillary Clinton.
And could you talk about meeting each other for the first time, deciding to work together on this?
Well, David and I were talking about the program that out by Columbia, and on the way out, he said, I have this idea, and he sat back down, and as soon as he said it, and the recognition of an idea that you want to work on, they're very few, because each one takes years and years, as you can see, that we're all still talking here after all these productions, and I had an immediate visceral reaction to just think, oh yes, I want to do this.
My original idea was that, okay, there would be this Chinese person who would come to America and Anna-like teach an American ruler something important about civilizing their country. And I thought that this Chinese person would teach President Hillary Clinton to solve the problem of gun violence. So we did a reading of that version on Election Day in 2016. And then the next morning, I remember calling our director, my frequent collaborator, Lee Silverman, and saying, okay, I think this is going to be bad for the country, but it could be good for our musical.
Let's talk about just Fever Dream.
You were the first person to start talking about it as a fever dream.
Oh, well, I think very, very quickly we realized that it's the myth of it's Orpheus, it's Dorothy. DHH is in one world, and then he goes into an underworld, and then he comes out of that underworld and back into the outer world completely changed by what has happened. One man processing one event in one life on one night. And that became its limitation, became its greatest freedom for us to dream, because the way that dreams work, they are trying to process the conscious world in our subconscious. Therefore, they have their own dramaturgy that I think is wackadoodle, but it's intact.
I'm curious to talk about China and Chineseness and how that's evolving here and now, how that maybe is affecting this new version of the show.
Yeah. China, at least in the early 2010s, was interested in creating a show that would end up on our Broadway as part of this general quest at that time to achieve soft power. Since the ascension of Xi Jinping, the country has become increasingly kind of nationalistic and inward-looking. So the kind of hostility of China and America has a pretty powerful and negative impact on what it means to be an Asian American. And so we saw the spike in anti-Asian hate as a result of the pandemic and the former president's characterization of that pandemic. So that's been very much on our minds as we've been looking at this version of the musical, and that DHH, who does get attacked in the musical after the 2016 election, his fever dream is also trying to process what it means to be Asian American during a time of increased hostility towards China in this country.
Hi, I'm Angelica Miguel, Signature's executive assistant and associate producer of The Signature Show. To close out this month's episode, we are kicking off a new segment we like to call the Green Room Jamboree. To celebrate our upcoming production of Soft Power, we thought we'd highlight a song from another Jeanine Tesori classic. Here's Great Adventure from Jeanine's Tony Award-winning musical Kimberly Akimbo, featuring Diamani Brewington and Alex DeBard, accompanied by Marika Countoris, Sam Carolla, Alec Green, and Joanna Smith.
We're gonna find when leaving what's behind, but you are by my side.
At last, a great adventure. Don't know where the road will bend or when we're gonna reach the end, so just enjoy the ride, because no one gets a second time around. Sadly, no one gets a second time around. We're sailing to a distant shore.
Don't know if we'll catch a breeze or encounter stormy seas, but
You will be my crew. We're sailing to a new world. Don't know how the waves will blow or which way the winds will blow, but just enjoy the view, because no one gets a second time around. Day is dying. We're headed for the setting sun. We're crying because we're almost done. Time's flying. It's been a lovely run and so fun, so fun. What a great adventure! Didn't know the paths we take, the sights we see, the friends we make with you, my partner in crime. We'll miss this great adventure. You never know, and nor do I, when we will have to say goodbye. So just enjoy the time, because no one gets a second time. No one gets a second time.